On a quiet Sunday morning, the United States believed the war was still far away. But in just a few minutes, a single event would drag the nation into a global conflict with unimaginable fury. What if I told you that this attack was planned not only to destroy ships, but to break the will of an entire country? And what if I told you that one single mistake made by Japan that morning would guarantee their defeat later in the war? We will answer both questions soon. The sun rose over Pearl Harbor, lighting the sky with calm colors. Sailors joked with each other. Some enjoyed breakfast. Others slept peacefully. They believed this was just another day in paradise, but hundreds of miles north. A storm of metal and fire was coming. More than 350 Japanese planes were flying toward the island. Fighters, bombers, torpedo aircraft. The most powerful strike force Japan had ever launched. Their goal was simple: destroy the Pacific Fleet before the United States could defend itself. But here is something strange: American radar operators detected the planes before the attack. So, why did the warning never reach the base? The shocking reason will be revealed later. At 7:55 a.m., everything changed. Explosions tore the sky apart. Bombs screamed downward. The quiet harbor became a battlefield in seconds. Sailors ran in confusion, first searching for answers, then searching for a way to survive. The USS Arizona suffered a direct hit to its ammunition stores. A fireball erupted and split the ship in two. Over 1,100 men died instantly. It was the deadliest single moment of the entire attack. Meanwhile, Japanese torpedo bombers moved in. They hit battleships with precision, striking again and again. The USS Oklahoma capsized, trapping hundreds alive inside its hull. The USS West Virginia and USS California sank beneath the burning water. Flames spread across the harbor. The ocean turned black with oil and red with blood. Sailors jumped into the water to escape fire, only to be shot by machine guns from above. Civilians stood frozen in terror, unsure if this was only the beginning. But here's another question: why did Japan choose Sunday morning? Why that day, at that exact time? The answer may surprise you later. Amid the chaos, acts of bravery emerged everywhere. Some sailors kept firing their guns even as their ships sank below them. Pilots ran to their planes, desperate to fight back even though the sky was full of enemy fighters. Doctors and nurses turned any building they could find into emergency hospitals, refusing to give up. The Japanese pilots were convinced they were winning. They believed the United States was being crushed. But they had missed something critical. Something that would later cost them the war. Where were the American aircraft carriers? Why were the most important warships of the Pacific Fleet not at Pearl Harbor that morning? And how would their absence lead to Japan's greatest defeat? We will uncover the truth soon. After nearly 2 hours of destruction, the sky finally went silent. Smoke covered the harbor like a dark cloud of death. In that short period, more than 2,400 Americans were killed and over 1,000 were wounded. Battleships that once represented American strength now lay sunk or burning. To Japan, it looked like victory, but appearances can lie. Because Japan didn't just attack ships, they awakened something far more powerful than they expected. They awakened the rage of a giant, and that giant was about to stand up. When news of the attack reached Washington, President Franklin D. Roosevelt was silent for a moment. Not because he felt defeated, but because he understood what Japan had just unleashed. The United States could no longer stay out of the war. The giant had been struck. And now, it was fully awake. The next day, Roosevelt spoke to the American people. He declared December 7th a date which will live in infamy. And with that speech, America entered World War II with a single purpose: to strike back. But here's the first answer you were waiting for. Remember the radar warning that was ignored? The operators reported the massive formation of aircraft. However, their superiors believed it was a group of American planes arriving from California. A simple assumption. One human error. And it allowed the enemy to strike without resistance. And what about the timing? Why Sunday morning? Japan had chosen the moment with cruel precision. On Sundays, most sailors were off duty or resting. Many were sleeping. Defense was weak. It was the perfect moment to cause maximum chaos with minimal resistance. Yet even with all their planning, Japan made a mistake much bigger than any bomb they dropped. They failed to destroy the American aircraft carriers. The USS Enterprise, the USS Lexington, and the USS Saratoga were not at Pearl Harbor. They were out on missions. Japan had aimed to eliminate the future power of the US Navy. But instead, those carriers survived. And they would become the key weapons in the battles to come. Japan believed the Pacific Fleet was finished. They believed America would be too afraid to fight. But they did not understand the American spirit. Instead of breaking, the United States united. Cities turned factories into engines of war. Thousands of young men enlisted. Driven by anger, patriotism, and a deep desire for justice. Women entered the workforce, building planes, tanks, and weapons day and night. A nation wounded had become unstoppable. 6 months later, the moment of revenge arrived. At the Battle of Midway, American intelligence cracked Japanese codes. They discovered the enemy's plan before the attack even began. And those same aircraft carriers that had escaped Pearl Harbor launched a surprise strike of their own. This time, it was Japan that was caught off guard. American dive bombers roared out of the clouds, targeting the heart of Japan's naval power. In just minutes, 4 Japanese aircraft carriers were destroyed. The same carriers that had launched the Pearl Harbor attack were now burning, sinking into the ocean. The mighty Japanese Navy would never recover, and just like that, the perfect victory Japan had celebrated turned into the beginning of its downfall. Pearl Harbor was not the end of American power. It was the start of a fire that would burn until the war was won. The questions have been answered. Japan chose Sunday to catch America asleep. The radar warning was ignored due to a deadly assumption, and the missing aircraft carriers became the weapon that changed the war. History can shift in a single moment, one morning. One mistake. One spark. Pearl Harbor was that spark. It awakened a giant, a furious giant, a giant that would not stop until it had rewritten the future of the world.